Folks, we got to stop the school choice scam. School choice can sound nice in theory, I get that, but in practice, the schools choose the students, not the other way around.
Which side are you on? Which side are you on?
So, did want to update folks on some bad news out of Tennessee last month. A Tennessee judicial panel has upheld the state's school voucher law, which allows public tax dollars to be given to families to pay for private schooling. And you can imagine among the Republican establishment in Tennessee, there was a lot of cheering and celebrating about this law being upheld. It's kind of been tangled in the courts the last few years. Folks, we got to stop the school choice scam. School choice can sound nice in theory, I get that. But in practice, the schools choose the students, not the other way around. Students using vouchers end up with worse education more often than better. The public schools and the students left in them are destabilized and defunded. Existing inequities are actually made worse. But, affluent families do get their private choices for private and religious schools subsidized by the taxpayer, and wealthy donors to these private and religious schools get nice tax write-offs, while the private and religious schools, without the accountability of public schools, can now tap into all this new funding and expanded enrollment as they so choose, which is very important, as they so choose. Some families do benefit from vouchers as advertised. I'm not naive to that. I'm sure we can find folks in any state that has tried vouchers. You can find some families where it worked out well for them. That doesn't change the fact that most people end up worse off as a result. Most people do, most families do, most students do, and our entire society certainly does. And I know this is frustrating to some people, but the education of children does not easily map on to free market fundamentalism. So-called competition and profit motives, when applied to our kids, do not produce better results, but it does turn them into commodities. As for me, I would prefer we ensure every child has a free, appropriate public education of the highest possible quality, not weaken the public school system by sacrificing the many for the few. Really looking forward to a conversation we have scheduled later in the month with Dr. Josh Cowan. He is a researcher who used to support vouchers, and he studied them for over 20 years across multiple states. And there was a blog post recently from Diane Ravitch entitled "Vouchers Are a Disaster for Students Who Leave Public Schools." And among other things, Dr. Cowan recently said about his research, quote, "There's another data point you need to know up front. Vouchers overwhelmingly fund children who were already in private school without them. In states that have released those numbers, Arizona, New Hampshire, and Wisconsin, we know more than 75% of voucher applicants came from private schools." So I really recommend you check out Dr. Cowan's work. He had an op-ed published on the Hetchinger Report this summer that was really, really good. You can find it in that Diane Ravitch blog piece highlighting his research. And as I mentioned, we're excited to have him scheduled to come on the show later this month. So if you have any questions about private school vouchers, send them our way.
That's really fascinating, and you don't see that a whole lot. Somebody who used to support something and then they actually studied it and they're like, oh, you know what? No, this is actually really, really bad.
Right. And Diane Ravitch is the same way. I mean, she was Undersecretary of Education under George W. Bush. She was a big fan of No Child Left Behind. She was one of its architects. And then she kind of saw the monster they had created.
You just saw a clip from the Valley Labor Report. We are live every Saturday morning from 9:30 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. And we pride ourselves on keeping all of our content free to everybody so that we can talk to as many working folks as possible. If you support the work that we're doing, you think that it's important, you think that it's good, then consider making a monthly contribution to the project. And you can do that on our website, tvlr.fm.